What's up, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. So I'm your host, Robbie Cassidy, and today we're going to discuss flare-ups. So I want to talk through what a flare-up is, what causes a flare-up, why areas actually flare up in the first place, and really, if anyone is wondering what it is, it's usually when your back goes into spasm, your knee starts hurting again, or your shoulder starts giving you bother again. And the reason I want to talk about this is because a lot of people have been getting in contact with me over the last few months, wondering why areas are starting to kick back up again, even though they feel that nothing has changed in their lifestyle. Now, before I jump into this, I want to talk a small bit about my foundational mobility program, which is out at the moment, and you can get that on my website. So the program is a 6-week program focused on reducing pain and tightness in the hips, the back, and the shoulders. Now, it's a scalable program, so it's suitable for any level, because it starts out with beginner exercises, but then there's also advanced exercises. So if you get through the first 6 weeks and you feel that you want to progress on, then you can also go for those advanced exercises. Now, as I said, it's available on my website at the moment. So to jump right into this podcast, what is a flare-up, and what exactly am I talking about when I am talking about a flare-up? So really, it's a significant increase in pain or tightness around an area that's been previously injured or you've had an issue with before. You might not have had an acute injury there, but it could be an area that kicks up for you a lot of the time. So a lot of the time when you talk about flare-ups, a lot of people struggle with lower back pain or lower back pain flare-ups, in that they're doing something, they might be in the gym, going through an exercise, and then they feel a little click or something, and then they notice that their back tightens up, it goes into spasm, and they start to get a serious amount of pain, which can limit what they can do for the next while. Now, it's a really, really common thing. So one person might have it in their back, another person might get it in their shoulder, another person might get it in their knee or their hip. It really depends on what your injuries have been in the past and what your beliefs and attitudes are around that area as well, because that does make a big difference. So as I said, it can be spasms, it can be tightness, you can get weak in that area, you can start to feel like you can't move it at all, and there's a lot of things that play into this. And as I said, beliefs and attitudes are going to be a huge thing that play into this. So it can happen, or it can last for just maybe 5 minutes or a day, or it can last for a couple of weeks. And this is the thing, the ones that last for a couple of weeks, you really have to look at the attitude that you have towards that may be promoting that or causing it to last for such a long time. Now, it does affect your mindset. They're obviously associated with like a low mood, and I suppose depression is probably another more extreme example, but that does play into it as well. And another thing that plays into it is this catastrophization. When something happens, that it's the worst thing that could possibly happen. So they're all part and parcel to play. They all play a part, I suppose, in a flare-up and how severe a flare-up is. And hopefully, as I go through this podcast, you'll start to get a better understanding of why they do it, why it's important to change your mindset when it comes to these type of issues. Now, another really important point is that a flare-up might not always be an injury. It might not mean that you actually injured the muscle, or you've actually, let's say, injured ligament, or you've literally injured a joint. Now, that's going to be a really important point to take away. A lot of the time, there is no injury there. And because of that, it's the reaction to what happens, or it's your reaction to it that causes it to be so much more disastrous, or so much worse. And it's actually taking note of your mindset that's going to be the biggest thing here as well, because if you're not taking note of it, then you can actually make an issue so much worse than it actually is. And that's why you hear people saying when they get back pain that they're in bed for 3 days after it. And it's not because of the back pain, it's not because of the issue themselves, it's their reaction to it that has caused them to go to bed for 3 days. And I don't mean to make it as easy as that, because obviously there's other stuff behind it as well in terms of sensitivity to the pain, and I'll talk through that in a while. But a lot of the time with those injuries that flare up and they last for a couple of days after, it is the reaction to it, and it's the fact that if you catch it, you start holding on to it and you start breathing really fast. Well, that's sending those protective signals to the body, and if you're doing that, you'll notice that the body's going to get tight, it's going to get sore, and it's going to give you a lot of pain because it feels that it has to do that because it's got into protective mode. So why do some areas flare up and others don't? Well, I've talked about this extensively in different podcasts about how the nervous system reacts to injury, what can happen to it, and then why these injuries seem to resurface again at different times in your life. And to make a long story short, to kind of give you an idea of it. So if you have an injured area on your body, that what I describe is it leaves a kind of an imprint on the area. And now an imprint could mean that it's just a bit more sensitive to any type of stimulus. Same as like if you look at after you burn yourself, if you get a burn on your arm and you touch the area that's burnt, that's going to give you a lot of pain, okay, because that area has become sensitized. Now, if you touch any of the areas around it, you're not going to have that much pain. So your nervous system has gotten sensitized to that one area because of the fact that it obviously has a burn on it. Now, this same type of sensitization can happen in your nervous system around your body. So you can get it in your back, or you can get it in your hip, or you can get it in your shoulder. And it's a lot of things that can contribute to that. So it could be the fact that you've actually injured that area before, that you may have torn a muscle there, you could have injured the ligaments, you could have had an impact injury that you had a bang into it, it could be an overuse injury. It doesn't make a difference exactly what it is, but you could have something that has happened there before that's caused that area to become more sensitized. Now, on the other side of things, you actually, and this is the interesting one, is you actually might not have ever injured it at all, but you're just more consciously aware of it because your family has a bad back, or someone in your father has a bad back. And you've always been aware of the way you're lifting, and you've always trying to take too much care when you're lifting, and you've always been really, really strict on your movements, and you don't bend your back because you feel it's a bad thing to do. And because you do that, or because you have those thought patterns, that actually can cause you to become sensitized as well in that area. So the nervous system gets sensitized because of the amount of conscious feedback it's getting from this area. So that's another one, and that's a lot of the time what causes back pain or causes severe back pain is this catastrophization, this kind of conscious awareness of it all the time. And that's why when I was working in the gym, now I haven't done it in a while, when I'm working with clients, I always kind of say, like with the movements that we do, don't worry about them too much at the start, because I don't want you overthinking the movements. I don't want you overthinking how your body moves. Everyone's body's going to organize themselves that small bit differently. So because of that, trying to say that you have to have a perfect squat this way, or you have to pick up something on the ground, or you have to have a perfect, let's say, Jefferson curl or deadlift or something like that, it's not true, because there's no perfect way to move. And if you start to get that mindset that there is a perfect way to move, slowly but surely you're going to put people into the position that they're going to start getting pain in different with different exercises, with different movements, because they have attributed, let's say, a certain movement to a bad movement, and it causes them pain. And that's why I really, really try to avoid that as much as possible. So cueing is good, but over cueing is very bad. Now, why do they happen in flare-ups? Because of the fact that these areas are sensitized, the nervous system can go into high alert, okay? And high alert is basically, as I kind of described earlier on, when you do get pain on the spot, depending on your reaction. So if you, let's say, feel a kick in your back and you jump up really fast and you hold yourself upright and you start squeezing the spot as tight as you can and you're breathing really heavy, that's going to send those signals to the body that there's an issue and a problem there. And if you don't so basically, you're saying if you don't take care of this now, it's going to become a bigger issue. And counterintuitively, you are actually making it a bigger issue by doing that itself. Okay, so really, really important to avoid that as much as you can. Overemphasizing something, making it worse than it is. And it is extremely important to, that's one point that I would say you should take away, is that when something happens, take your time. It's not going to be the be all and end all in the moment. I know that obviously sometimes you can get worried, but you have to take that couple of seconds just to let things chill out and let things calm down. Okay, obviously protect it, but let things just calm down so you can get a better idea of what the actual issue is. But if you're reacting to something and you're thinking that it's going to be more severe than it is, then it will become more severe than it is. And that nervous system, because it goes into high alert, the protective mechanisms of the body are going to be pain and tightness, or spasm even. And if you're not controlling your breathing, you're going to send that into more of a spasm, and it's going to put you into a, I suppose it's a vicious cycle. It's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. So control your breathing, take note of what it is, and just start to, I suppose, chill out for a couple of seconds the best you can, and see if you can relax down your body and get a better idea of what actually happened to you. And it's really important with people in any situation that they get injured to do that, because a lot of the time that the gasping and the gripping and all that, a lot of the time is over, you're over egging it, and if you're over egging it, then you're going to give yourself more pain and more disability because of that. So it is a protective mechanism, and we have to watch how we can reduce that as much as possible. Now, what actually causes a flare up? Like what when you look at the specifics of it, what causes it? So in general, a flare up is caused by significant increase in load over a certain, let's say a week, 2 weeks, a month. You could just be getting more and more every month, or you could be increasing it more and more each month, and the body starts to get fatigued. And then because it's fatigued, then the nervous system goes into that high alert state. If it's in a high alert state, then you're at more risk of a flare up. So really, as I was saying, it's a lot of the time a significant increase in load, and that could be stress. Obviously, stress at work is a huge one. A lot of the time, people are going to get a back spasm and going to get back issues, or even shoulder issues, or knee issues, or hip issues, or whatever you want to look at. It's around the time that they have either a big presentation due, they're maybe arguing with their boss. They could have a lot of things going on at the same time. They could be changing jobs. A lot of the time, this is what's contributing to it, and that's stress. Even though you don't feel it's load, it is an increase in load. So stress is one. Poor sleep is another one. In that everything will be going grand, and then you'll be sleeping worse and worse each night because let's say you're just staying up that small bit later, or you have things to do that you need to get finished in time, and that poor sleep then is obviously going to contribute to putting your nervous system into a high alert state, and because of that, then you're obviously at more of a risk of a flare up with that. Okay, and then because you're sleeping poorly, that's going to be causing fatigue, and fatigue is one of the biggest contributors to these flare ups. So it's really important to try control that as much as you can, and make sure that you're actually planning out your recovery. And then on top of that, you've all the other stuff. You have your bad hydration. Not enough movement is a very, very big one as well, in that you're just sitting down at your desk all day. You're not actually going to the gym after. You're just getting up, you're driving home, you're sitting down on the couch. That's lack of movement, and lack of movement is going to cause the body to start to protect areas start to protect positions that you don't go into that much. So if you do go into that position, you can get a flare up because the body feels that you shouldn't have done that. Okay, and it does work on this way. It does work this way as well. I'm not making it out to be like it's a different thing. Like the mind and body are going to be tied together. Everything is going to be connected in that way. So you have to see how these different, I suppose, issues or different problems or different scenarios are actually going to cause you, are going to increase your risk of flare-ups. So when you look at it then, and you're looking at what, like maybe one thing I wanted to go into a small bit more detail on is what actually sets it off. Where's the trigger a lot of the time? Because obviously these things are increasing over time. Your stress is increasing, your sleep is getting worse, and your fatigue is increasing. So what actually sets it off? Now, a lot of the time, it can just be an exercise or a movement that you do. And one that catches a lot of people is bending down, picking something up off the ground. And then because of that causes a flare-up. It causes them a lot of pain. Now, why is that? Like, what's the reason for that? Well, there's a lot of different reasons. Now, obviously, if you're fatigued and you bend over, and it's going to be harder. It's going to be a lot more effort to do things. And because you're fatigued anyway, you're at more risk of injury. Now, I'm not saying that you injure yourself. Another one then is the fact that because you bent over and you have the idea or belief in your head that bending over is bad for your back, and you're already fatigued and you have all this poor sleep and you have this bad or poor hydration and you haven't been moving all that much recently, when you bend over then and you straighten up, because that belief is ingrained in your mind, it can actually cause you to, it can work as a trigger, basically, in that it triggers off, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and then you start feeling the back starting to get a small bit sore, then it gets worse, and you start gripping it, start breathing faster, then straight away it's into spasm, and you're wondering why it happened. And that's a really common one. Another one is in the gym. People always talk about they get these clicks, or they get a tweak, is another one you hear a lot of the time. And it might just be that it's the muscle itself. Now, you could actually have like a little small tear. That could have happened to you, that you get a little muscle tear. But a muscle tear in your back is the exact same as a muscle tear in your calf or your hamstring or your quad. It's the exact same thing. But it's treated a small bit differently, because in society we have this idea, obviously, that back pain is a big issue. So muscle tear, or let's say you get a tweak in your back and it starts to feel a small bit like it's starting to get tight or sore. Now, your conscious awareness of that is going to really promote a flare up. That if you're really thinking about that all the time and you're stopping your movement, you reduce your movement or you limit your movement, you stop bending over, you stop rotating, and then very soon you'll notice that area has gone from just a little bit of an issue to a fairly significant one, in that you are getting a lot of muscle cramps or spasms, and you can't bend over at all. And they're joined together. Like the two of them, they happen so often. And I've seen it with clients as well. When I'm working with clients, we work on a long-term basis. So we work like 12 weeks, 16 weeks, and more. And I don't take people on any less than that, unless it's just a physio consultation. And the reason is that we get better understanding of what's contributing and what's causing it. And a lot of the time you'll say, because we do a call usually on a Monday, I'll say, and I do a check-in on a Thursday, I'll say, what's the issue this week, or what happened? And they'll say, oh, I was gymming on Friday, I was bent over doing a bent over row, or doing some type of an exercise, a pendulum row or a deadlift, felt a little tweak in my back, continued on, was okay, remembered that happened to me later on in a day, slept poorly that night. That tweak has now become from a 2 out of 10 pain, has now become a 6 out of 10 pain. So start to worry about it a small bit more, flares up, starts to get a bit more, or starts to get sore. And then obviously I'm not moving at all because I don't want to hurt it anymore. And then by the time Monday rolls around, it's a fairly significant or fairly severe injury, or not injury, but it's a fairly significant issue at that time. And it's because of the conscious awareness of it after that has done that, on top of all those other factors like your fatigue. So really, it's not the exercise itself that causes the pain or that causes the issue. It's the reaction to it that makes the biggest difference. And it's really important to become aware of how you react to these certain tweaks, to like little bits of tightness or even a cramp, because a muscle cramp in your back is the same as your hamstring. You just treat it a small bit different because people think that your back is obviously needs to be protected all that much more. So that's kind of the main thing I wanted to get across, is that a lot of the time it's not the exercise, but it's the reaction to the exercise that causes a flare up. So how can you prevent a flare up? What can you do to reduce the occurrence of them? Well, one of the main ones is obviously, as I've been saying, you have to manage your load a small bit better. If you're not planning recovery days, if you're not getting recovery in and you're just going all the time, then you will be at more of a risk, because the body will get run down, it'll get tired, it'll get fatigued, and then because of that, it's on high alert and it can go into that protective mode way faster. So managing your load is a really, really important one. Next one then I would say is like become more aware of your body. So listen to your body when you start to notice things getting a small bit sore here and there and you don't really know what's causing them. Kind of sit back and think about it. What is that? And this is something that I should learn myself, because I was saying there last week that I was out surfing, and then I was doing jiu-jitsu, and I was doing boxing, and I was doing all this stuff one day after another, and not taking any recovery days, and I was sleeping really poorly as well, because I was trying to get work done and trying to get stuff caught up on. So I was only sleeping 5 or 6 hours a night. This is coming from the fella now who's telling you you shouldn't do this. Then I noticed then at jiu-jitsu on Monday night that my shoulder was aching me for some reason. It shouldn't have been aching me. It's not that I had been doing anything too much. I had been, let's say, surfing and that, but I wasn't doing so much to the point that I injured it, or I felt that I injured it, but it was aching. And then after that, I noticed my hip started aching, which should have been straight away an indicator that there's definitely something going wrong here, or I'm doing too much, because that never happens to me. And then I was getting fatigued. I was trying to, or feeling that I needed to go for naps. And then one day, I slept really poorly, went out in the sun that morning, borderline sunstroke, I'd say, because I didn't put on any cream or anything. I was out for 3 or 4 hours surfing, and then I just got severely sick, completely run down, and I was sidelined for 3 or 4 days after it. And it's just because I never took note of the warning signs that were there before me. I was extremely tired in the morning when I was getting up. My shoulder was starting to act up, and my hip was starting to act up. And I never took any notice of that. But if I did, I could have avoided all that if I just had taken a recovery day. Maybe I wouldn't have avoided it completely, but I could have at least made it from a 3-day issue to maybe a 1-day, because I rarely, in general, touch wood, I rarely get sick. So I'm lucky that way as well. But I think that it was a big learning experience for me, and I'll have a better idea now going forward because of that. So you have to become more aware of your body. You have to listen to your body that bit more, because if you don't, these things will creep in, and then you'll get hit like a wall, which is a flare-up. So Now, on top of that, or other stuff that you can do, you're obviously looking to take down the sensitivity in the nervous system. That's going to be a really important one. Try turn down the sensitivity in these areas that are more prone to flare-ups. Now, that side of things, there's a lot of details that you can go into there on how to take down the sensitivity. Managing your load better, becoming more aware of your body is easy. Anyone can do it. Taking down the sensitivity takes a small bit more knowledge on what to do. So, like before I just start throwing, because I don't want to start throwing stuff out there for that one, because of the fact that it is a bit more intricate in what you do, and you can cause flare-ups and all that. So you need to be a small bit more knowledgeable about it. And that's where I suppose actually working with somebody and having a better idea of how to do it yourself, or them educating you on how to do it, is going to be really important. And then if you're going to take down sensitivity in an area, you're going to have to build confidence, and you're going to have to build strength. So strength is one way of taking down sensitivity. It might not do it completely, but it will knock it down a good bit. And then actually building confidence in the area, so you are more confident moving, you're more confident working with that. There's a lot of things that contribute to that, like you can work on breathing, you can work on affirmations, you can work on, obviously, mobility training is going to be a huge one and help take that down, strength training, balance training, all this together, and having a better holistic approach and a holistic view of it is going to be huge on that. But yeah, guys, that's kind of everything I want to discuss today. Hopefully you have a better understanding of what actually causes a flare-up, what a flare-up is, I suppose, first. Why do some areas flare up? So what a flare-up is usually a significant increase in pain and tightness. And then spasms, a lot of the time you'll get tightness, you get weakness, you get a good bit of pain. They can all be part of a flare-up. You'll notice that your mood can drop down because of that as well. And then why do some areas flare up? It's because a lot of the time they're sensitized because of an old injury, or nervous system is on high alert because of the fact that you're more conscious of that thing or that area. And then what actually causes it itself, as I said, usually it comes off the back of significant increase in load, having like poor sleep, a lot of stress, good bit of fatigue, and just not taking care of yourself properly. That's usually what causes it. And then you go to the gym and some exercise kicks it up, or you bend down and you pick something up off the ground, and then you're noticing that it's getting really tight again, or it could be something like that. That they're all contributing though. So getting a better idea of your body, managing your load better, taking down the sensitivity, and helping to build strength and confidence around the area are going to be the best ways of dealing with that flare up. But if there's a few things to take from this, I would say first, watch your reaction to a flare up. That's going to be the biggest contributor to a flare up as well. Is if you start reacting really, really poorly, like if you have and I don't mean to be an arsehole when I say that, like, because obviously everyone reacts different to pain, everyone has a different tolerance to pain, but it does help in that. And to be as frank as possible, like it does help in trying to be a bit more positive when something happens, and not just going for the worst of the worst all the time, and thinking that it could be the worst of the worst. And I suppose that takes just that small bit of training as well. So that's everything I wanted to talk about today, guys. If anyone has any questions, just make sure to get on to me, because I know a lot of people that will be listening to this have had flare-ups or have issues themselves, and they want to get them fixed, or they want to get them worked on. So if you do, definitely just get in contact with me, and we can start to make a bit more of a plan of how you would how you go about that, or even just ask me a couple of questions, and I'll put you in the right direction. So if anyone is looking, I will be taking on more clients over the next couple of weeks, so definitely get in contact with me. A lot of the guys I'm working with at the moment have, let's say, have struggled with bulging discs in their back. They're having shoulder injuries, so they could have dislocations, hip injuries, so they would have like meniscus tears or labral tears or cartilage tears. And I don't mean to just say lads, it's I suppose a phrase I use, lads and ladies. I'm working with both. So if anyone has any issues, definitely get in contact, guys, and we will see what we can do for you. Hopefully I'll be able to point you in the right direction anyway. But yeah, guys, that's everything from me today. Hope everyone is doing well out there. Hope everyone's enjoying being back at the gym and back training properly. As I said before, I'm actually living out in Indonesia at the moment. I'm living out in Bali, so I'm loving it out here. Trying to get used to their lifestyle, trying to build a bit more of a routine and getting back into old activities that I love as well. So I'm actually back boxing, I'm back into jiu-jitsu, I'm getting somewhat better at surfing, even though I'm still shy, and getting my gym work in and my mobility work in as well. So if anyone has been out here before, if anyone has any ideas or things that you think I'll be interested in, definitely send them on as well. But that's all from me today, guys. Thanks a million for listening. Chat to you all again soon. Have a good one.